So good morning, good evening, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, whatever time that you are watching this video. I am Richard Taylor, and I'm here with the distinguished gentleman from Goldsboro, North Carolina, former North Carolina State Representative and current mayoral candidate for the 2023 election, Mr. Raymond Smith Jr.
Sir,
How you doing today?
I'm well, sir. Good to see you.
Good to see you
No
too,
doubt
man.
about it. Thank you for this opportunity.
Yeah, definitely a pleasure to be, in your presence once again. We're just going to get right to it. Of course, you served in the state Senate, I guess you call it, state house.
Mm-hmm.
And how long did you do that for?
I served 2 terms. The terms in the General Assembly are 2 years.
Okay.
So it was 4 years that I served Sampson County and Wayne County. So it wasn't just Wayne County that I represented. I also represented Sampson County as well.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so during your 2 terms, what was that, 2-2-year terms?
2 2-year
terms. So that's 4 years.
Yes.
What, I guess, advantages or what knowledge did you learn during that term that will help you in your campaign, in your current campaign for position of mayor in North Carolina, Goldsboro, North Carolina?
Well, first of all, what a lot of people don't understand is what legislators do is we touch every aspect of state government from A to Z, okay? Transportation, education, public safety, Department of Revenue, Department of Veterans Affairs, every state agency, Health and Human Services, every state agency that the state of North Carolina is responsible for, the legislature has dominion over. We make the policies, we are the funding source, and we are the entity that determines how your tax dollars are going to be spent. So everyone who pays state taxes, those taxes go to the legislature, and the legislature then decides how it's going to be divided. And beside that, the other thing that we do is we make all of the laws for the state of North Carolina. So if something is a state law, it came through the General Assembly. And so what I learned was that everything that happens at the local level either starts at the federal or the state level when it comes to the overall guidelines and policies.
Okay.
Then at the local level, what you do, of course, is you make local laws. You make not local laws, they're not laws, but you have local ordinances that govern how business is done at the local level. But it has to be in conjunction with state law and with federal law. It cannot supersede the two. So what I learned is how it all comes together.
Okay. And so with this current campaign for mayor, right?
Yes.
What was your motivation? It sounds like to me it's kind of taking a step down from state representative to, local leadership.
Yes.
So
yes.
What was your motivation initially for, going to embark on this campaign?
Good. And I'm glad you said that, because there are a lot of people who perceive it as a step down or a step back. It's actually a step in the right direction, okay? Because there's a flow. Money flows from the federal government, Congress, down to the local level. Money flows of state dollars from the General Assembly down to the local level. I have been a part of that flow of sending millions of dollars here to Goldsboro and Wayne County for infrastructure, for school construction, for various, to support the local municipalities, the city and the county. And that money, in my opinion, has not gone to the areas that it needs to go. Because the decision as to where those monies are spent are made by your local government officials. So I don't care how many millions of dollars I'm responsible for sending to Wayne County and Goldsboro. It's the county commissioners and the city council and the Board of Education that determine where that money is going to be allocated. I do not believe that these officials have done that. I don't think that these officials have allocated those funds where the needs are the most. That's why I am running for mayor of the city of Goldsboro. I want to be on the receiving end of those funds. Okay. I want to be at the table where the determination is being made as to when these millions of dollars do come to Goldsboro. I want to be at the table to decide where they go.
Okay. And speaking of, I guess, the city's financial state, that's one of the big issues I hear a lot of people talk about. A lot of candidates refer to audits and things like that. from your knowledge, what is the condition of the city's finances, and also what steps would you take to rectify, that situation?
Okay. Right now, the city is under audit from the state auditor's office because we have not submitted all of our audits that we are required to as a municipality. So the state auditor's office is holding back its support for the city of Goldsboro. In other words, a passing grade, so to speak, if you will, to put it in lay terms. And so they're holding that back, and they're waiting for the city to comply with their requests for audits. And once those audits are received, then the state auditor's office is prepared to publish its report of their findings of what the fiscal problems are here in the city of Goldsboro. And so when I was in the General Assembly, I was in contact with the state auditor's office, Beth Wood, because I was a representative of this district. So I was being kept abreast as to what was going on. But now that I'm no longer in the General Assembly, I'm not in a position to talk to her directly as a representative, but I'm well aware of the situation. Now, that situation has caused our bond rating, which is, in layman terms, our credit score. Okay, the city of Goldsboro's credit score is terrible.
I've heard that we can't borrow money or something like that.
Absolutely. The bond rating is equivalent to an individual's credit score. So once that bond rating has been affected, now the city of Goldsboro is handicapped. It cannot borrow money. And if you do borrow money, if someone is willing to borrow money, the interest rates are going to be so high that it won't be worth it. Okay? So the first thing we've got to do is we've got to conduct our own internal audit. We've got to make sure that the city of Goldsboro is fiscally healthy and fiscally sound before we can go forward with anything and addressing any of the issues that we have here. The first order is going to be to make sure that we're in compliance with the state and that we get our bond rating back so that we can be in a position to borrow money. Good example. Let's say the city of Goldsboro wanted to build its own civic center, okay, as a revenue source, having concerts, having conventions, and bringing people to the city of Goldsboro so that revenue will come into the city of Goldsboro. But right now, we can't borrow the money to build it, okay? If you built something like that right now, you'd have to do what the city council did recently and raise everybody's property tax. And that's not the answer. We shouldn't have to raise people's property tax to get things done here in the city. We should be a healthy, financially healthy city so we can go out and borrow that money. We can put a bond referendum on the ballot, and if the people of the city of Goldsboro say, we agree that we want to spend $80 million to build a civic center, and we're willing to pay that back over time, then that's something that the community has agreed to, not 7 people.
Okay.
Or in this case, 5 people.
So that could be done like that?
Absolutely.
You can put different, I guess, like you said, referendums or different agendas on the ballot for people to vote for?
Build schools, build civic centers, build anything that this community feels like it needs. You do that through bonds.
Okay.
Yes, but right now, the city of Goldsboro is not healthy enough to do it.
Okay. And one issue, like while we're talking about the different issues, one issue is crime and also the lack of law enforcement. What would be the way to improve that, from your point of view, if you were in a position of, leadership?
Well, excellent question. Crime doesn't just happen. Crime has root causes. Now, every crime is different, and every person who commits a crime does it for a different reason. However, when you look at crime from a holistic perspective, just in general, crime is a derivative of an unmet need. Somewhere along the line, that person who is committing that crime has an unmet need, either be it financial, be it a mental health need, be it a health need, be it a some other type of, it could be an emotional need. Okay, there's a reason why people go out and do some of the things that they do, but the foundation, which there's a direct correlation between poverty, crime, and education. Highly educated people, or well-educated people, don't necessarily have to be highly educated, but well-educated people have a less propensity to commit crime. Okay, that's a known fact.
Okay.
Okay, so we start with our education system. We have 5: Goldsboro High School, Carver Heights, Dillard, North Drive. We have 4 main schools here in the city of Goldsboro. All of them are failing.
Failing in regards to.
Failing in regards to academic performance.
Okay.
Yes, failing in regards to overall academic performance. Now, am I saying every child in the schools are not performing? That's not true.
Okay.
There are children who are absolutely performing in these classrooms, and there are teachers that are absolutely outstanding. But what the state does, the state gives the entire school a grade based on one test that the children take at a particular point in time in the year, in a snapshot of that time. And they judge the entire school based on the outcome of that test. And that's a standardized test that's given to all the schools across the state of North Carolina that are public schools. And so once those tests are taken and those grades come back, those scores come back, then the school is given a grade based on the overall performance. It doesn't give credit to where you started from to where you grew to. It only gives credit for what your score was on that day. So this is the formula the state uses. They give 20% to growth. So let's say you started school that year, you're in the first grade, you couldn't read. But by the end of that year, you could read some.
Okay.
That's growth, right?
Yeah.
Well, they only give 20% credit for that child growing. But if you give that child who's just learning how to read the same test as a kid who had pre-K, who was prepared, who came to the first grade already reading, you give them the same test, he or she's not going to perform as well, but they're going to be judged on that score. And that is given 80% weight by the legislature. So it's a 20-80 split. Now, with that 20-80 split, you're putting all of the emphasis on that one test, not from where that child grew from, okay? So my thing, when I was in the legislature, I fought hard for it. I fought hard for a continuum scale. And that scale would start at 20-80, but then it would go 60-40, then it would go 50-50, then it would go 40-60, then it would go 80-20. And basically what that means is we flip it. Let's give credit to the Carver Heights and the Dillard and the North Drive that's bringing kids along. They may not be ready to test at the same level as that other kid, but look at where they started versus where the other kid started. How do you win a race if the person that you're racing against is already at the 50-yard line and you starting at the end zone?
Exactly.
You're not gonna catch them. Okay, not in that particular race, not that day.
Yeah.
But give me some time. Let me work up. Let me build my legs up. Let me build my lungs up. Okay. In time, I'm gonna catch you.
Yeah.
Okay. But today, if you're gonna judge me today, and I'm starting at the end zone, and you're already at the 50-yard line, that's not a fair assessment. But if I, after the end of the year, I'm incrementally, I gain 20 yards on you. Okay. Give me credit for that 20 yards.
So how do we improve those, those scores or the children's ability, to be proficient in the test?
The city of Goldsboro has a responsibility. They have been kicking that can down the road for years. One of the first bills I voted on when I went to the General Assembly back in 2018 was a bill that allowed the city of Goldsboro, municipalities across the state of North Carolina, to actually fund schools, to invest in schools, to help teachers' salaries if that's what you need to do, help build schools if that's what you need to do, fund tutorial programs if that's what you need to do. The city of Goldsboro has kept telling people we don't have anything to do with schools. That's the county. It's not true. The city of Goldsboro has chosen not to participate in the education system here in the city of Goldsboro. Okay, one of the things that I will absolutely promote as mayor is the full participation of the city of Goldsboro and its full resources in the schools in the central attendance area, being Goldsboro High School, Dillard High School, Carver Heights, North Drive. The city of Goldsboro should be partners with these schools, and we should be in these schools, and all of our resources should be in these schools to help improve the schools. And I understand you have a program. The city should be supporting your program, okay? Because it's vital. People who want to help, let's help them help. Okay, so I will absolutely be advocating for the increase in our support for local education. Once you see that increase in education, once you see those people, those kids increase and come closer to that finish line, you'll start seeing their self-confidence build. You'll start seeing them look at the world differently. You start seeing them say, wait a minute, I have an option other than going out here and doing something that I shouldn't be doing. I have some other choices that I can take, because I can go in here, I can get a certification, I could go to college and get a degree, I could take this path and get an apprenticeship so I can learn how to do things for myself, start my own business. You create these opportunities for these young people, and they won't choose crime. I just don't believe they will choose crime if they felt like they had other choices.
Yeah, poverty is definitely a catalyst for crime. And homelessness is a big issue. I know I was at a city council meeting one time, and I saw a young lady come up, and she complained about homeless, lack of shelters, lack of affordable housing, things of that nature. How would, what would be your approach to helping Goldsboro kind of tackle that issue that a lot of people, once again, seems to be concerned about?
Well, I actually spoke to that very young lady that you're referring to, and we had a very lengthy conversation. And her situation was really, to me, made worse because of how or why it happened. It happened because she and her significant other were trying to work and create and earn more money. Well, they had housing, but the minute that they earned too much money to stay in housing, they were kicked out of their housing situation. Okay? Then they did not make enough money to pay for a regular apartment. So they were stuck in the middle. There's a big gap. It's just like the Medicaid gap. It's a big gap between affordable housing and the actual market rate housing. Okay? So the people who fall in that gap are caught in a bad situation and wind up homeless most of the time. Now, why is it that way? Policy. Everything comes back to policy. The HUD policy for living in public housing is that you cannot make more than 50% of the median income for the area that you live in. So let's say, for instance, the median income for Wayne County is $30,000. You can't make more than $15,000 and stay in the projects. But that's as a single parent.
Okay.
Married couples can only make 50% of that 50%.
So they can only make $7,500.
Exactly. Married couple. So there is a built-in disincentive for people to get married. Why would you get married? You're getting kicked out the projects if you get married. Wow. So we wonder why we have single parents. They are forced to stay single because they cannot afford to get married because of what? Policy. Okay? So when we talk about who we're going to elect, when we talk about who we're going to support and get behind, rather than worrying about whether we like them or not, we need to worry about whether they are going to support the policies that most affect us. And to me, it's a system that works for the people in power. Okay? You hear people on both sides of the political spectrum talk about, welfare reform. We need to do something about welfare. We need to do something about public assistance. One of the things that people do not take into consideration, I don't care if they are, what political party they belong to, and I don't care who's in power. Guess what never changes? Those policies.
Yeah, the policy.
Those particular policies never seem to change. And the reason why they don't change is because in a capitalistic society, that's what makes capitalism work.
Somebody has to be.
Got to be some winners and got to be some losers. So they created a permanent loser system. And no matter who's in charge, that loser system keeps the system going.
So what do you think, once again, I've heard you speak on these, but so what do you think the most pressing issue is the first to be attacked in Goldsboro?
The most pressing issue is getting our fiscal affairs in order, okay? Until you take care of your business in your own house, how can you go tell somebody else how to manage their house? You got to take care of your own business in your own house. So when the city of Goldsboro becomes healthy, the city of Goldsboro then is in a position to address these other needs by borrowing, by working intergovernmental agreements. You know, one of the things that I was able to do when I was in the General Assembly, I was able to put forth a bill for intergovernmental service agreement between the city of Goldsboro, the Seymour Johnson Air Force Base, because prior to that, they could not by law get into an agreement. They're two different governmental entities. But now, that's one of the reasons we have the school on base, is because those intergovernmental service agreements now allow the city and the base to do business and to enter into contractual agreements with each other. So we're going to have to make friends with the county.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to have to make friends with the school board. We're going to have to make friends with the base and act like we all live in the same community.
Okay. So do you think there is a divide between all of those entities?
Absolutely.
And how, you know, or why doesn't the city and the county, or the city, the county, and the school board feel the need to work together in conjunction to solve all of these separate issues that everyone's involved in? Or how can they work together?
First, the why is the people at the table. That's why. The people at the table have to be willing to work together. You have to want to, okay? There has to be, it's like a marriage. If the two people in that marriage want it to work, they will figure out a way to work it.
Definitely.
If either one of the people in that marriage does not want that marriage to work, it's over, okay? So it's the same thing with the city and the county. If we got people who are at the table, who are willing to sit down and work together, it will happen, okay? But you have to elect the right people so that can get done. And I'm most willing to do that. And how we sit down and, well, one of the things that I can tell you is I've done it before, okay? People who may or may not know, I was the first executive director of Goldsboro Wayne Transportation Authority. That was not an easy thing to pull together. That was actually the first time that the city of Goldsboro and the county of Wayne came together to work on a project, okay? And when I left the Department of Transportation as a statewide planner to come and be the first executive director, I had to pull the city of Goldsboro, county of Wayne, to the same table with the Federal Transit Administration and the North Carolina Department of Transportation. So I'm working with 4 different governmental entities, and I'm supposed to bring them all together to create this one entity, this one program called Goldsboro Wayne Transportation Authority. And I was successful in doing that.
Yeah,
it was not easy, and it's still here today.
Still running today.
Still very proud of that.
And you mentioned something that I didn't know. Well, you mentioned several things I didn't know. It seems like you have a lot of hats, and I didn't go over all of your credentials, but I've been peeking at this credentials list.
Yes.
So let the people, okay, well, I'll read it. I say, so bachelor's degree in supply chain management from North Carolina A&T, master's degree public administration from Central. So you went to both of the rivalry schools. Doctorate degree in educational leadership, Fayetteville State University, U.S. Army decorated combat veteran. Thank you for your service.
Yes, sir.
Classroom teacher, statewide transportation planner, first executive director of the Goldsboro Wayne Transportation Authority, vice chairman, Wayne County Board of Education. You was on the Board of Education?
Yes, sir, prior to going to the legislature.
Okay, 2-term legislator, NC House Minority Whip. What is Minority Whip?
Minority Whip means leader.
Okay.
My job is to work with the leadership in the party, in the caucus, to make sure that the individuals who have to vote on bills, they know what they're voting on. Okay, because everybody doesn't understand the stuff that comes out. It's written in what they call legalese.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so it's my job to get that information put in a format that they can understand, so to make sure that everybody was on the same page.
So so you definitely have a lot of experience, a lot of credentials.
Yes, sir.
Now, being that, I think in the primary, we talked about this, I think the other day, only 13% of the people voted in the primary, and I think during the primaries or the elections or even like the years past, I've seen the figures, and it's a minimal, very nominal group of people who come out to vote. And my question to you is, why is that people feel the need not to engage in the political process, and also how can we get them engaged in coming out and being a voice? Because if only 3,000 people vote in a city of 25,000, registered voters, that's not really indicative of, who's making decisions, so, or what the people want, or, are the people really making a choice, or is it just a select group of people who feel the need to come out and be involved in the process? So why is it, and how can we get them more involved?
The why is the easy part. Why is because people don't understand how government works. Okay, it's really that simple. People do not understand that the decisions that are made at the local level affect them directly. The decision that the city council made to raise property taxes affects people's pockets. Okay, the minute they raise their hand to raise property taxes on the city, people who live in the city of Goldsboro, there went someone's medicine, someone's choice about buying groceries or paying their taxes. I mean, that directly affects you. Same thing when they raise the water rates. Those decisions directly affect you. Now, the decisions that are made at the federal level or at the state level may or may not directly affect you. A good example, when previous president was in office, he passed a presidential decree that freed low-level drug offenders, okay, because they had these long sentences. Well, that was good. It was real good. Only problem, it only affected federal inmates.
Okay.
Had no effect whatsoever on state inmates. Okay. So that decision, while it was good, it has no effect at the state level. The state legislature controls the prison system here in the state of North Carolina. So people don't understand how government works, and therefore, when we have a presidential election, we all go run out to vote for president because you see the TV commercials and you see all this stuff and all this millions of billions of dollars spent on advertising to make you know that there's an election. But that election pales in comparison to this one right here.
Okay.
This election right here is going to be about who is going to better look after the needs of the community that has the most needs.
Okay.
That's really what this boils down to. Because the city of Goldsboro, while it is a thriving, loving, beautiful community, I love the city of Goldsboro, born and raised here, I love my hometown. And our downtown is something to look at. It is spectacular. I am so proud of what they've done downtown Goldsboro. But if you go a few blocks in either direction from downtown Goldsboro, you'll see blight. You'll see torn, broken down houses, abandoned homes. You'll see streets that are in need of repair. You'll see communities that are desperate for revitalization. Those are the kinds of things that we need to be focused on looking forward in the future city of Goldsboro. So if the people of the city of Goldsboro truly care enough about what they are seeing and they truly care about the condition that they currently live in and want to improve it, then you need to vote for someone who you feel will actually make that improvement, or you need to vote for someone who is going to maintain the status quo and keep things like they are. Because truth be told, the way things are works just fine for some folks. Okay?
Definitely.
Okay? So we have to keep that in mind when we decide who we're going to vote for. So now, how do we get them out here? We got to find out, because when people ask me the question, what's the most important thing, and I tell you, getting our affairs in order. But when you ask a mother who's lost a child, when you ask Joyanna Pearsall's mother and her grandmother, what's the most important thing, they're going to tell you crime, because we lost a beautiful child to gun violence unnecessarily. But when you talk to a mother who has a child attending Carver Heights or Dillard, a low-performing school, they're going to tell you education is the number one priority. You talk to someone who hasn't had a job in a couple of years, they're going to tell you employment is the number one priority. You talk to those people who live out in the tent city, they're going to tell you that homelessness is the number one problem. So it depends on who you're talking to, And my mother, God rest her soul, Thelma Smith, she used to say something when she would make public speeches, and she would say, "A basketball in my hands worth nothing, but a basketball in Michael Jordan's hands worth billions."
Yeah.
Okay. So it just depends on whose hands. Okay, and it depends on who you're talking to as to what's the most important issue going on. I think they're all important, and I think the city of Goldsboro can address each and every one of them. But you got to start inside first. You got to get yourself healthy, and it's like a parent. If you are neglecting yourself under the pretense that you're looking after your kids, I won't eat so my kids can eat, and I get that. I get that. But guess what's gonna happen if you die from starvation? Who's gonna take care of your kids then? You gotta be healthy yourself. It's not selfish to take care of your business first and then go take care of other business. Okay, it's not selfish. But we have a facility out here that has been abandoned by the State Health and Human Services called the Old Cherry Hospital Campus. Okay. To me, I've already talked to my friends in the legislature. I said, listen, we got this facility here. We got a homeless problem here. I see a solution. Can we take state money, some federal money, because I'm friends with our two congressmen, Greg Murphy and Wally Nickel. I served with both of them in the General Assembly. So my connections are in Washington, D.C. and in Raleigh, okay? Talked to all of them. They said, put a plan together and let's go get it done. So when you hear somebody say, oh, well, you know, it flooded down there, we can fix that. The Army Corps of Engineers does that all the time. We can fix the flooding problem. The problem we got to fix is the naysayers. We got to fix the people who keep saying why we can't do something and why we keep kicking that can down the road. We have a whole 100-acre campus down there that we can turn into business incubators. People can start businesses there. People can live there. People can work there. People can shop there. Okay, and it's a city. It's a small little city that the city of Goldsboro can take ownership of through negotiation with Department of Health and Human Services, because they currently still own that property. And I'm prepared to go on with those negotiations because I've already started them. Okay, I'm not the mayor yet, but if I do become the mayor, I will most definitely be in a position to speak on behalf of the city in those negotiations. Right now, I'm speaking on behalf of me as an individual, but I'm ready to go with that plan, and the people at the state level and the federal level are ready to go and help me with it. And we can solve that problem.
Yeah, that's definitely a good, because I think like that all the time.
Yes.
It's just not that area, but I ride around and see a lot of abandoned buildings, a lot of abandoned warehouse, a lot of abandoned houses, and just say, okay, why don't we just and I'm just thinking it's so simple, you know what I'm saying? Like
it is.
Like okay, we got a homeless problem. We got these hundreds of buildings just sitting around, hundreds of houses.
It is.
Okay, let's do it. You know, but I know it's a lot of legal tape. It's a lot of red tape with it. But I guess I'm just simple like that.
No, you're a visionary.
Yeah.
See, the people perish for lack of vision. See, you have to have a vision. See, if you're not a visionary, I equivocate the city of Goldsboro for the last several years as to a firefighter. Firefighters react to an emergency.
Okay, putting out
fires. Here, putting out fires there, putting out fires here. That's not what government entities should do. They should be planning.
Proactive.
Be proactive. Be prepared. Okay? In the military, we have an acronym. They have 6 P's, but I'll just use 5 of them. Prior planning prevents poor performance.
Okay.
There's another P I put in there, but I won't for television.
I've heard that.
Yes, and then another one is if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So the city of Goldsboro has been failing in its planning efforts. The last plan, this long-range plan the city of Goldsboro did was in 2000. 23 years ago was the last time the city of Goldsboro sat down and put together a long-range plan. And the only thing out of that year 2000 plan that has been accomplished is the revitalization of downtown. That's the only thing in it. So, like I say, we have a lot to do. We have to think about what this is about for the future of the city of Goldsboro. We have a decision to make now as to who you want the next mayor to be, okay? And everybody in the city of Goldsboro has a hand in that, because if you don't vote, you're just as culpable as the people who do.
Okay. And I know you got to get back out to the polls.
Yes,
We're at the Goldsboro Library.
Come on out and vote.
And that's when can they vote? When can people vote?
The public library is open Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. and on Saturday from 10 to 2, and this Sunday they'll be open from 1 to 4, okay? And this will be all the way up until November the 4th for the public library. After November 4th, you will have to vote in your precinct on November 7th. That will be your last time to vote. And your precinct is where you normally vote during an election. But anybody and everybody can vote at the public library right now up until November the 4th. So come out and vote.
So they got about 2 more weeks.
Got about 2 more weeks.
2 more weeks in. Okay, so lastly, what would you tell, people the reason that they should vote for you?
Well, the reason you should vote for anyone is because they're qualified, they're capable, and they're competent. And what they bring to the table will enhance your community rather than continue the things as they currently are. Voting for someone just because you knew them or you knew their father or whatever, that to me is okay if that person is ready for that job. Everything is not for everyone. So what I ask you to do, I ask you to do your homework. I'm not going to ask you to vote for me just because you know me. I'm going to ask you to vote for me because I'm qualified, I'm capable, and I'm competent, and I'm ready to lead. I bring something to the table that no other candidate brings, and that's experience and the relationships in Washington, D.C. and in Raleigh that are going to propel Goldsboro forward. And I'll leave you with this one last thing. The state of North Carolina just passed a $30 billion budget. Out of that $30 billion, all of your state agencies have to be funded. Health and Human Services, transportation for your roads and bridges, public safety, the prison system, highway patrol, all of those things have to be funded from that $30 billion. What's left, what remains, becomes competitive dollars for all the 100 counties in the state of North Carolina and the various municipalities. When those dollars become competitive, how do you think you get to the front of the line? It's called relationships. I have those relationships. I have 75% of the current members of the General Assembly right now are in my cell phone. I can call them. And our 2 congressmen, Greg Murphy, Wiley Nickel, are personal friends of mine. And if we need them, I can call them because we served in the General Assembly together. And last night I had a fundraiser. And I had friends of mine from the legislature there, and I had an individual who's running for lieutenant governor at my fundraiser last night. These are people who, if I call them, they will come.
Definitely, and I'm a witness to that because
Yes,
I was
sir.
there, so
Yes, sir.
it was definitely a nice event. So I thank you once again
Yes,
for
sir.
giving. We can talk all day,
All
but
day.
I know you
Yes,
got to
sir.
get out and campaign
Because we love this community.
Yeah, definitely,
Yes, sir.
definitely.
Yes, sir.
So, and I thank you for your desire to run. So, if you want to vote for Raymond Smith, come out here to the library from 8 to 5, anytime between now and November the 7th. November the 7th, you have to go.
November 7th, you have to go to your precinct and vote where you
your
normally
precinct.
vote.
Okay,
Mhm.
and I thank y'all. And any last words?
I'll be here to greet you if you come to vote.
All right.
And you can ask me any question you'd like. All right.
Thank you so
Yes,
much.
sir. Thank you.
All right,
Appreciate
thank
it.
you.
No doubt.
Appreciate you.
Proud of you, man.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.